Okay, so this is my video response to the Buffy the Vampire Slayer clip. We were asked to watch the clip and then see how it pertains to our understanding of depression. I would say there are like three aspects of this clip that are of particular importance. The scene begins with Buffy and her sister asks her, are you doing okay? And from what we've seen so far in our studies, depression is marked by like a pervasive negative attitude or a pervasive feeling of sadness, overwhelming despair and such. And, taking that into account, asking someone who is depressed, like, are you okay? How you doing? How you feeling? I mean, the answer is not likely to change very much, and I can see how someone who is depressed would just be kind of frustrated by this kind of questioning. It also just goes to show that people who aren't depressed, like the people who are dealing with the depressed person, it just goes to show that they don't really have a deep understanding of what the depression really means. And, to them it's just like, I don't know, it seems that oftentimes people who aren't depressed view people who are depressed as just, having some kind of problem, in the sense that, like, they just don't understand how it is that someone could be so overwhelmingly sad all the time. They kind of figure like, oh, just snap out of it, just do something fun, have a good time, And so, I don't know, so I feel that the clip dealt with that really well. The scene that follows looks at Buffy and her friends, and in that scene I feel, she kind of has to lie to her friends and tell them that she's doing okay and that she's happy, because that's what they want to hear. They are concerned about her, they do want her to be happy, and so to sort of alleviate their discomfort and their pain, Buffy chooses to lie to them and tell them that she's doing okay. In the context of what's happening in the show, she tells them that she's grateful that they brought her back from the dead, and that, she was in this horrible, hellish place, and that she's really glad that they brought her back. The third and most important part of this clip, I find, is where she actually opens up and is honest about what's going on. She's talking to the character Spike, who, if you know anything about the show, is a vampire and is an undead character. And if you're looking at it contextually, Buffy confides in Spike because she too now is, well, she's not undead, she's been brought back from the dead. So the two of them have that death component in common. And so she's able to open up to Spike and tell him that actually when she had been dead, she'd been in heaven, and she felt at peace, and she was fully at ease, and she was happy for once. And when her friends brought her back, with all the best intentions at heart, they'd actually woken her up from a really heavenly place, and that her existence now back on Earth is sort of a hellish experience. How does this relate to depression? Well, in my opinion, I feel that the way that Buffy talks about life now, like life now that she knows what happiness was, and that she's no longer there anymore, I felt that really, really touched on something that I imagine most depressed people feel. She just talked about the difficulty of getting through each day feeling that each moment is just so far removed from any happiness that she's ever known. And yeah, so I don't know, what more can I say? I find it really cool, though, that she does confide in Spike, because, again, he's the character who would most likely understand where she's coming from. To me, I feel it kind of relates to, let's say, I don't know, a support group for depressed people, maybe, or some kind of therapy in which the depressed person is speaking to someone who understands what it's like to have been depressed, or what it's like to be depressed. And I don't know, there's something to be said for that kind of solidarity. Being able to open up to someone who understands where you're coming from, I'm sure that there's a huge healing factor in that. Because the bottom line with depression is that it's bad enough to be depressed, but it's quite another, just even worse, to, not be understood by anyone, to be completely misunderstood in what depression is, why you feel the way you feel. So my theory is that in order to heal, there is some of that honesty and sharing that needs to be done between people who have experienced similar situations. So that's my take on it. I don't know. I'm curious to see what other people would have to say. Great, thanks.